What are some duties in your position that you did not expect?
That's a good question. Having gone to school in primarily a research teaching environment, and then having a job in the field, and then having a job doing more research again, the teaching emphasis probably surprised me. And not that it was, I liked it. It was good. It was refreshing. It was finally getting credit for where credit was due, I felt. But that was probably the thing that surprised me the most.
Okay.
How much emphasis there was on teaching here.
And what are some challenges to working in your specific area? And what is something that you wish was different?
The challenges, you never know where the job market's going to go. It's after 9/11, it seemed like public health kind of gained a certain name recognition, and it was more popular, more programs were being funded, more health departments were getting certain funding and hiring people. And so we're really at the mercy of the job market in that respect. What was the second part of that question?
It said, what are some specific things that you wish were different about what?
Oh, geez. It does seem like we're often responding to other people's criteria, whether it be the university's requirements or some credentialing agency. It seems like we rarely get a real chance to just ask the students what they want, ask employers what they want, and then just do those things. There just always seem to be restrictions or limits, or you have gen ed eating up all the classes, and then the ones we offer, they don't count for our majors for whatever reason, whatever bad reason. There seems to be a lot of inefficiencies that we could, if we had more autonomy, more freedom, we could probably create a better program.
Right. What are the best parts of your job?
Oh, the teaching, by far. And it always was, and it was always such a limited role. And so I would definitely say that the opportunity to interact with the students on a daily basis like we do is clearly my favorite part.
Awesome. This one says, describe the culture of your organization, which I guess would be the health department at EKU.
Well, it's an academic department, and so it has a very academic culture in that respect. We're very collegial that way, but we're also very good mental health, and we interact with each other well.
That's good.
We are some places I've been. There's a lot of more competitiveness over battles that aren't really clearly defined who's winning. But when someone thinks they're winning, that's all you need to kind of get the spell. So we have a very healthy environment, but it's basically very academic and very collegial in that respect.
Okay. What is your definition of a leader?
That's a good question. Someone who people want to follow because they know that what they're saying would actually be an improvement or useful or a good idea, or they're receptive to feedback. They make decisions in a way that they often arrive at good ideas, and so and we've had a lot of success there. We've had good leadership. Narrow outside, it's just different. It's just different. They didn't even know. I won't say, but they didn't even know we were in the Begley building. They wanted to knock it down. 2 years ago, they didn't even know they were faculty. The higher ups, they just, we'll knock it down. It's like, hey, wait a minute, we have a department. Were you ever in our program when we were over in the Begley building?
No, sir.
Yeah. So, you're lucky. So.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Mount Begley, I called it because there was only one way up the ramps, And we've been flooded out and, pretty much run out of there. And so we landed really nicely here, but.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some health problems or health I marked that and put concerns that you think students on this campus face at a more disproportionate level to like the general public.
Well, I mean, as much as the general public, and certainly not immune. They're young, and you guys think everything's going to happen later in life. And so I think the hardest thing is to realize that habits, practices adopted now carry over into the rest of it. So in that respect, it's just the reality that what you do, there are such things as good habits, and what you do now translates into later later health. And of course, I think that there's a few that we'll see where you go with that, but that are maybe not more specific to college students again, though, because like obesity and type 2 diabetes, like that's everybody.
Yeah.
Younger than college, high school, middle school, adults. It really is the things that they're facing are whatever, and that they're not immune is the thing. There's no. I think we used to think that the ivory tower, you're safe in this world. It's out there where everything's scary, but it's it's stuff that's going on here.
Right. Do you think that like what we talked about a little bit earlier, that like healthcare industry and the push for like a good public health is gaining more ground going into the 2020s?
It is, and maybe not for the best reasons, but I think it's seen as a lower cost alternative to more expensive forms of healthcare. But as long as it's done with eyes wide open, I think there is room for assisting the more traditional healthcare model, where all the dollars have gone, and really focus on prevention. It's just we always react as a nation to problems. We rarely ounce of prevention, pound of cure. We don't get that, and even though we have examples of that, and so I think because of cost cutting necessity, our strong point of prevention will be looked at as more and more often a viable alternative. So I think the future is bright for the profession in that respect. It always should have been, but now by necessity. Yeah.
Would you say that living a sedentary lifestyle is just a bad setup for college students from the start to get ingrained into them?
Yeah, I think that habits that we develop when we're young, I would never have believed that. I would have thought that I had all my life to change my behavior with so many of the habits I started in college. 20 years later, I look down and go, oh my gosh, I'm still doing some of these things. So, yeah, if that is, and I know it is because there's just so much evidence that the whole millennial population is experiencing more fractures, more nearsightedness, just examples of macro involvement in less active lifestyles.
Right. Not
beyond the fact that when you see kids outside, sometimes they look conspicuous. They don't know really like what they're like waiting to go back inside. And you don't see kids playing. I don't know if you ever did, but like Sandlot, you go by a baseball field and you only see kids out there if they're wearing uniforms. They have umpires, the parents are there. You rarely see that. So, yeah, we do have a culture that is really moving away from just having an active lifestyle. I definitely think that's a real concern. And a habit that once established would be hard to break.
Right. What would you say is an important rising national health concern?
There's not so many. It's the ones that we don't think are health concerns, I guess, would be the one. I mean, obviously, the food supply has been tampered with in a way that has made it extremely delicious and convenient and just horrible for us. And we're consuming it and we're exporting around the world. But then there's things like social media that is just it's creating a generation of kids who are less social, less able to interpret body language, interact face to face, develop eye contact. These are things that are just so pervasive, is why I think they're a real problem. I mean, you can probably find something that's more lethal, but I think those two together are kind of a 1-2 punch of, you don't really see them as problems right now, and we've kind of been lulled into the idea that they're essential necessities as well, and that's really scary.
And the last question here, I put, so we're talking about sedentary lifestyle. Do you think youth sports are a good way to at least take a chunk out of that?
Yeah, I mentioned that my incredulity to that, and I had nephews and nieces that they were just always being, soccer mom. They were being driven here, being driven there. They did everything all week long, but they never got good at doing anything. They just dabbled. They never practiced when they were home. They'd play soccer for 40 minutes on Tuesday, and then they'd do this for 40 minutes on Wednesday. And I don't think that translated into any longer habits or just interest in excelling in a particular area. And they were just really average in a lot of things, and really an expert of none, and really prone to dropping all of that, if it wasn't so prescribed and organized for them. So I don't know what the alternative would be, just other than an understanding that that's what we've kind of been doing, and it really does kind of result in more. Did you play any organized sports growing up?
Yes.
Which one?
I played football, soccer, t-ball, and lacrosse.
And was there a travel soccer team that was certain ones that maybe were a little bit better, but maybe had bigger budgets, and they would go to?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I mean, it really kind of gets narrowly focused. It's not inclusive in so many respects, and it becomes more of a something else.
Right.
Something else. Were you ever on the travel team?
No, I was not that good.
No, but again, I mean, just the fact that there was when I grew up, there was nothing like that. And so, I mean, I could see how that would alienate kids.
Definitely.
Along the way.
And it seems to be that the people who are playing on the club teams that travel are more physically fit for the rest of their life than are the people who are playing at their recreation center in their town or whatever.
I read a book where the 85% of the NHL players, I'm not a real NHL fan, but NHL players were born in January. Ones who were American. They were born in January. And because that's when the cutoff is, they were the oldest ones in their class.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of an advantage just because they were a little bit older, so they got to be picked more often. Not because they were better necessarily in anything, but they were older and a little stronger. So parents have now tried to adopt this, hold kids back. So now everybody's doing that. So it's still the same cutoff. So it's whoever was born in January the year before now. So I'm not even sure how that relates to the last question that we were just talking about. But it's just an amazing fact when you think about how that worked out. I was born in February, and I was kind of older than.
Oh, yeah?
They actually tried to push me. I was tall, too. They tried to get me into higher grade, thinking, you're you want to go in first grade? That's weird.
I was born in